That night, I stood on the rooftop of a downtown high-rise, holding a glass of ginger ale like it was armor. The city lights stretched out beneath my feet, glittering like a future I once thought I'd have. Around me, people floated in designer dresses and tailored suits, laughter ringing sharp as crystal. I didn't belong there, and I knew it. Then my sister spotted me. She smiled the way only someone who knows exactly where to press can smile. "This is my sister," she told her colleagues, her voice sweet and loud enough for everyone to hear. "She fixes appliances, you know, microwaves, blenders, things like that." Laughter followed, not cruel, just casual, the kind that slices deeper because no one thinks it's mean. I smiled politely, said nothing, held my glass a little tighter. But what they didn't know, what she didn't know, was that sometimes the person you think is invisible is the one quietly holding everything together. I wasn't supposed to be there, really. It was Lena's company mixer, a rooftop event with hors d'oeuvres I couldn't pronounce and wine I wouldn't dare spill on my only good dress. She had invited me casually, like it was nothing, like I might benefit from seeing how successful people network. So I came, not because I needed her validation, but because something in me, call it instinct, call it dignity, wanted to stand where I'd been erased for years. I stood near the edge, sipping ginger ale, listening to the wind and pretending it was conversation. Lena floated in the center of it all, laughing, radiant, confident. When she noticed me, her eyes lit up, not with warmth, but with opportunity. "This is my sister," she said, waving toward me. "She runs a repair shop, you know, microwaves, toasters, that kind of thing. Honestly, if it plugs into a wall, she can probably fix it." They chuckled, some polite, some amused. I smiled, quiet, because I'd heard worse, and because I knew something no one else in that circle did. The very company hosting that party, they'd been using my services for over 2 years. They just didn't know it yet. Then the elevator chimed. Heads turned, conversations paused, and through the glass doors stepped Mara Kingsley, CEO, tech magnate, the woman Lena practically worshipped. But Mara didn't walk toward Lena. She walked straight to me. It wasn't always this way. There was a time when I was the one people bragged about. Top of my class, scholarship to a great school, law school, acceptance pinned proudly to the fridge. I was the big sister with the big future. Lena, back then, was the shadow following me around. Braces, ponytails, wide-eyed admiration. She used to say, "I want to be just like you, but life doesn't always honor first impressions." Mom got sick the year I was supposed to leave for law school. I stayed behind. One semester turned into a year. Then Mom passed, and Dad faded. He stopped speaking in full sentences. The house grew quieter, heavier. I worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on. Cooked dinner, paid bills, held everything together with duct tape and determination. And Lena, she left, threw herself into college, into ambition, into a version of life where grief didn't get a seat at the table. I never blamed her, but I became the other daughter, the one who didn't make it. Thanksgiving dinners turned into silent comparisons. Her shiny job titles, my calloused hands. Her tailored dresses, my work boots. They never asked what I gave up. They only saw what I didn't become. And Lena, she started introducing me like a footnote, something to smile at, something to pity. But what they never understood was, while she was busy building a resume, I was building something else entirely. When you grow up hearing the word potential, It clings to you like a promise. I was supposed to do great things. Everyone said so, until life demanded something greater: sacrifice. When mom's condition worsened, I didn't hesitate. I deferred law school, thinking I'd go back in 6 months. But 6 months turned into hospice visits, oxygen tanks, hospital bills that never stopped arriving. And then she was gone. Dad unraveled. He started drinking quietly, the kind of quiet that filled rooms. The house fell apart with him: leaking pipes, broken lights, fried sockets. I couldn't afford repairmen, so I became one. I watched tutorials late at night, holding a flashlight between my teeth while rewiring old outlets. Burned myself twice, got electrocuted once, but I kept learning, not because I dreamed of it, but because no one else would. I took a front desk job to keep the fridge full. Learned to fix anything we couldn't replace: toaster, heater, AC in the middle of summer. I kept that house standing when no one else even noticed it was falling. And somewhere along the way, I stopped waiting to go back. The scholarship expired. My resume grew cold, but I stayed, not out of failure, but because someone had to survive what our family refused to face. They called it settling. Said I gave up, but I didn't. I adapted. I built something from the wreckage, and eventually, survival turned into skill. The shop started with a folding table, a second-hand toolbox, and a hand-painted sign that read, "Vale fixes it." It was wedged between a laundromat and a tailor. Easy to miss unless you were looking for it. The floor creaked, the heater rattled. The coffee was always lukewarm, but it was mine. And every shelf, every socket, every strip of LED lighting, I wired it with my own 2 hands. People didn't come for luxury. They came because something they loved had stopped working. A broken fan, a jammed blender, a coffee machine that hadn't brewed since the day her husband passed. One woman cried when I fixed that machine. She said it smelled like him again, like mornings they used to share. That's when I realized I wasn't just fixing appliances. I was restoring pieces of people's lives. Elderly couples brought in old radios. Single moms came in with laptops that wouldn't start. Right before midterms, sometimes I didn't charge them. Sometimes they paid with a thank you note and a smile that lingered in the doorway. No one saw this from the outside. Not the family who joked, "I tightened screws for a living." Not the sister who scoffed at my stained hands and scraped knuckles. But I wasn't ashamed, because piece by piece, I was rebuilding something more permanent than pride. A life with meaning. A life that didn't need applause to be valuable. Lena's world was glossy. She posted updates from tech panels, snapshots from international conferences, humble brags about learning so much from inspiring women in leadership. Her LinkedIn looked like a magazine spread, clean, curated, perfect. Mine didn't exist. While she was networking over cocktails, I was soldering circuit boards, replacing tiny blown capacitors under a flickering desk lamp, matching screws to sockets by feel, not by brand. And still, quietly, steadily, I built a client base. One day, a shipment came in, a bulk order of malfunctioning devices, mostly tablets, a few handheld scanners, routine repairs really. But when I saw the packing slip, a name stood out: MK Tech Systems, Mara Kingsley's company. I blinked. Turns out, through a logistics subcontractor, my little shop had been quietly supporting their supply chain for almost 2 years. No one at the top ever contacted me. No fanfare, just steady work, consistent pay, quiet trust in the results. While Lena was praising her company's efficiency online, I was part of the reason they could even claim it. She never knew. Not because I was hiding anything, but because people like her never ask questions about the hands behind the systems they celebrate. That was fine. I didn't need her to clap, because while she was busy building a profile, I was building precision. And one day, that precision would speak louder than any caption ever could. The elevator chimed. Conversations dimmed. Not silent, just softer. That subtle shift you feel when something important enters the room before anyone has the words for it. Mara Kingsley stepped out like a question that didn't need to be asked. Burgundy pantsuit, hair slicked back, eyes sharp, every spine straightened. She didn't glance around, didn't search for applause. She walked straight past the clusters of rising stars and polished ambition, and came to me. "Catherine," she said, holding out her hand, "I didn't expect to see you here." Lena's voice cracked behind me. "You know each other?" Mara turned to her, calm, precise. "Your sister is the reason your logistics team has been able to maintain a 97% turnaround rate on refurbished equipment. We've been using her shop services for 2 years. I assumed you knew." The silence was perfect. Lena blinked. I thought that was a third-party vendor." "It is," Mara said. "And Catherine's shop is the one they subcontract to. She solved problems your team couldn't even diagnose." Then Mara turned back to me, softer now. "I've never met you in person, but your work speaks volumes." I nodded. "Thank you," I said, my voice even, my heart steady. Around us, the air shifted. No more polite chuckles, no more invisible lines. People listened, not because I demanded their attention, but because truth, when spoken plainly, doesn't ask permission to be heard. Lena approached slowly after the crowd began to scatter. Glass of wine in hand, lipstick faded, voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "I didn't know," she said, almost to herself. I looked at her, really looked, not with anger, not even disappointment, just clarity. "Would it have made a difference?" I asked gently. She didn't answer. Her eyes searched my face, maybe looking for resentment, maybe hoping for a crack in the calm, but I had none to offer her. "I never meant to embarrass you," she added, voice catching. "Yes, you did," I said. Not harsh, just honest. "You just didn't expect it to backfire." She flinched, then looked down at her glass, swirling the stem like it could give her a script. "I've worked hard to get where I am," she whispered. "I thought you'd given up." I nodded. "A lot of people did." I wasn't trying to shame her. I was just done explaining my worth. "You saw what I stopped doing. You never looked close enough to see what I started building." Silence again, but not empty this time. Something shifted. Lena swallowed hard. "Did you come tonight to prove a point?" I smiled. One small, tired breath of a laugh. "Number I came because you asked." She blinked, and maybe for the first time, saw me, not the sister she used to outshine, but the woman who had risen anyway. I never posted milestones, never shared photos of tools lined up or circuit boards fixed by hand. There was no audience for that kind of success, and I didn't need one. My shop didn't sparkle. The front sign had paint chipping from too many winters, but inside, there was purpose. I hired 2 part-timers, Sam, a retired electrician who wanted to keep busy, and Miles, a high school kid who reminded me what curiosity looked like before life got loud. I paid them fairly, taught them carefully, trusted them fully. We didn't move fast, but we moved right. Every repair came with intention. Every customer left feeling seen. There were no press releases, no articles, just real work, real people, real dignity. Sometimes Miles would ask why I didn't advertise more, why I didn't tell the world who we were fixing things for. I'd smile, because I don't need everyone to know, I'd say, just the people it matters to. And they knew. The single mother who cried when her laptop booted up in time for her online exam. The widower who thanked us for restoring his wife's vintage sewing machine. The woman who walked into my shop after that rooftop party, not with a device, but with a quiet nod of respect. Lena hasn't mocked my work since. Sometimes she even asks for advice on budgeting, on fixing her thermostat, on things she once laughed at, and I help her, not because I need to prove anything, but because I finally stopped needing anything from her at all. Later that night, just as I was about to leave, Mara found me again. This time, she wasn't flanked by board members or corporate buzz, just a woman holding a drink, eyes kind but sharp. "You've got a good eye," she said. "Your diagnostics reports are clean, efficient. Your team solves issues our engineers give up on." I smiled. "They're good people. I just try to lead by example." She nodded, then reached into her blazer. "If you ever want to skip the middleman," she said, handing me a sleek, embossed card, "call me directly. We could use someone like you, leading, not subcontracting." I took the card, warm from her hand, and slipped it into my purse. I didn't answer right away, and she didn't press, because she could tell I wasn't chasing anything. Later, at home, I pulled the card out and looked at it under the soft light of my workshop. It shimmered. It represented opportunity, legitimacy, recognition. But it wasn't the first time I'd been seen that day, and it wasn't what I needed to feel whole. I placed it in a drawer beneath a stack of handwritten invoices, old receipts, and instruction manuals I'd memorized years ago. Not as a rejection, just as a reminder that the value of what I've built isn't tied to who offers me a seat at their table. It's in the fact that I built my own. I never confronted anyone after that night. No dramatic speeches, no pointed, "I told you so." Just a quiet return to my shop the next morning, unlocking the door, flipping on the light, and brewing coffee that still tasted like home. The card from Mara stayed in its drawer. Some days I take it out, not with regret, but with gratitude. It reminds me that I was seen, that I could have climbed, but I didn't need to, because this life, this quiet, steady, honest life, isn't a fallback, it's a foundation. Since that party, a few new clients have come through the door. Word gets around, I guess, but the ones I remember are the same. The elderly man who brings his late wife's antique mixer. The single mom whose laptop held her entire degree. And Miles, my teenage assistant, still learning how to hold a soldering iron without flinching. He wants to start a mobile repair van someday. I told him I'd help design the logo. Lena and I talk now, not like we used to, but with effort. We're not best friends. We're just two people learning how to see each other without the weight of old expectations. What I've learned is this: respect doesn't come with noise. It arrives in the quiet, when the world finally pauses long enough to look. I never had to raise my voice. I just had to keep showing up.